What's going on, guys? It's been a minute since we checked out some wrestling, but we know that the WWE is just a place full of fun and there's surprise guests and there's all kind of things. This is 10 wrestling moments that have aged horribly in the WWE. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Let's jump into this thing.
Number 10, Jared, the Subway Guy.
Oh, Lord.
The Subway Guy, known as Jared Fogle, had a number of appearances on WWE television.
Did he really?
Most notably, he would guest star on an episode of Raw in 2012, and WWE believed this would lead to mainstream exposure. But over a decade after his guest star stint, it's likely that WWE will never mention Fogle's name ever again.
Probably not.
In 2015, it was uncovered that Fogle had committed some heinous acts, and ultimately he was sentenced to 15 years and 8 months in federal prison. If you don't know what they are, search the guy's name.
Yeah, look that
the
up.
WWE has smartly distanced themselves from Fogle, and on the WWE network, if his name is typed into the search bar, no results come up, which seems fitting for a man as despicable as Fogle.
They wiped it clean.
Number 9, Vince McMahon's racist comment to Sabu. WWE's relationship with Islamic-centered countries is well documented, yet if they saw one specific clip of Vince McMahon, they would have a ton of questions. During the revamped ECW in 2007, McMahon had a notorious backstage interaction with ECW icon Sabu. Following the interaction, fans were left gobsmacked. McMahon would address Sabu by saying, "Well, I'll be damned. I thought I was in Texas. Hell, I'm not in Texas. I'm in Afghanistan. Hey boys, check it out. Here's a member of the Taliban." And there are no words to accurately describe what McMahon was thinking when he made these comments. Quite frankly, there was no excuse, even in 2007, for a segment of this nature to air on WWE television. Number 8, Jinder Mahal's racism. And not every WWE moment that has aged horribly occurred decades ago. One infamous moment took place in 2017, and it saw Jinder Mahal taking part in one of the most controversial and tested segments in the modern era. In a segment on SmackDown, Mahal would mock Shinsuke Nakamura's accent, and he would even compare the decorated star to Mr. Miyagi. Fans were quite speechless that this was taking place in 2017, and the backlash was so severe that WWE were forced to release an official statement.
Oh, I'm sure.
Just like many other TV shows or movies, WWE creates programming with fictional personalities that cover real-world issues and sensitive subjects. As a producer of such TV shows, WWE Corporate is committed to embracing and celebrating individuals from all backgrounds, as demonstrated by the diversity of our employees, performers, and fans worldwide.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it really wasn't a good look for WWE. Number 7, the 1999 Royal Rumble.
Can't wait to see what they're talking about with that one, but I just want to talk about definitely the Subway thing. That probably should have been number 1. I don't know what number 1's going to be. That one should have probably been up there because I know for a fact that they've just wiped that one completely clean and probably try to forget mention of it and never talk about it ever again. That was too crazy. Also, the McMahon comments. Oh man. I don't even want to repeat it, but that's a tough one, man. You really gotta be careful. You gotta walk a fine line. Also, in 2007, that was way after that situation happened in 2001, and the sensitivity was heightened. So I don't even know why. I think it's just a like off the cuff thing, you know. If it's an ad lib thing that is in there and it's part of a sentence, I don't know. Maybe they just thought it was okay at the time. I don't know. What happened at the Royal
Contemporary
Rumble?
information about CTE, WWE have stopped chair shots to the head indefinitely. WWE are so strict on this policy that they're even reluctant to show archive footage featuring the spot, and this has created problems when highlighting one of their most infamous matches of the Attitude Era. The 1999 Royal Rumble featured The Rock and Mankind colliding in an I Quit match, and the match featuring The Rock brutalizing Mankind with sinister chair shots to the head time and time again was unpleasant viewing. Now, this type of physicality would never be allowed on WWE programming today, which is without a doubt the right policy. Unfortunately for WWE, the match itself was documented on the Beyond the Mat documentary, which means footage of the chair shots often pop up when new fans watch the documentary for the first time, and always leads to some criticism being directed towards WWE. Number 6, Kwin White. Now, there have been some characters and gimmicks in WWE that have aged like milk, and one of these gimmicks is the gimmick of Kwin White. In 2005, WWE would rebrand Chavo Guerrero as Kwin White. This gimmick saw Guerrero dye his hair blonde and denounce his Hispanic heritage. Most of the content of the character, particularly during the promos, crossed the line as Guerrero would often make questionable comments towards black members of the roster. The gimmick though was atrocious, and it failed to get over as the fans had no interest in seeing the gimmick on TV. The gimmick almost went even further as Guerrero wore a white sheet to the ring, and this was going to imply that Guerrero was a member of the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah, bad idea.
Thankfully, this idea never materialized. Number 5, the racist storyline. WWE couldn't just book a traditional good guy versus bad guy match when booking Booker T versus Triple H at WrestleMania 19. Instead of the traditional approach to the storytelling selling the world title matchup, they decided to create one of the most controversial storylines of all time, as the storyline had racial undertones throughout which offended the fan base and made them completely disconnected from the product. In one particular promo during the build, Triple H would declare, "I think you're a little bit confused about your role in life here. You're gonna get to WrestleMania, but the fact is, Booker, somebody like you doesn't get to be a world champion. People like you don't deserve it. That's reserved for people like me." That's where the confusion is. You're not here to be a competitor, you're here to be an entertainer. That's what you do, you entertain people. Hell, you entertain me all the time. Go ahead, do a little dance for me.
What?
Go ahead, go give me one of those spinneroonies. Entertain me. That's your job. Don't be embarrassed, you're here to make people like me laugh, with your nappy hair and your suckers. The segments and promos during the build seemed to get worse and worse as Triple H would treat Booker in a despicable way. They refused to change the direction of the storyline. The natural conclusion to the offensive storyline was Booker overcoming the game and defeating him on the grandest stage of WrestleMania, but WWE made the questionable decision to have Triple H win the match. Despite the match taking place at WrestleMania and featuring 2 certified legends, the match is rarely mentioned by WWE.
I'm sure.
They clearly want to try and act like the storyline never happened, as it's certainly a storyline that should have never ever been pitched, never mind been put on TV. Number 4, Vince McMahon uses the N.
Oh, I remember that. Alright, we're going to talk about that in a second. But yeah, man, I don't know. The Triple H Booker T thing, that's an interesting storyline. That's maybe one of those ones that shouldn't have been there. I get it at first. The nappy hair comment maybe pushed the lines a little bit when he was talking about people like you. I mean, who's to say that he's talking about a race undertone? Maybe he's just talking about, wrestlers like you, entertainers like you. I'm the man, you're not. Maybe it was like that. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comment, guys. But it feels like that's what it could have meant, but who knows? Vince using that word, we remember that. We all remember that one. I don't know how we can forget.
N-word. For some reason, during the 2005 Survivor Series event, Vince McMahon decided to book himself in a segment where he proudly used the N-word.
What's up, man?
In a backstage segment, McMahon would take part in a promo with John Cena, and to close the promo, McMahon would refer to Cena as the N-word. McMahon would then walk past Booker T and Sharmell in one of the most tasteless segments WWE have ever delivered.
I don't know why they did
According
that.
to Bruce Pritchard on his podcast, the segment doesn't hold up, but in a bizarre fashion, he tries to justify the segment by saying it was a different time and a different place.
No, it wasn't.
Now come on, this is 2005.
No.
It really wasn't a different time and place. But Pritchard said, "I don't think it holds up well. Well, I think there were people whose opinions were asked, and again, it's just a different time and a different place where you did different things that were not things that hold up. And I go back and I'm into the Alfred Hitchcock hour now, taping it every single night. You sit there and you watch some of those things on television of men just basically slapping the ish out of women back and forth as if it was just another day at the office. It's just time has a way of making things cringeworthy. Again, different time, different place, different mentality." Number 3, the use of blackface.
I don't know about that, though.
The WWE has a documented history of allowing talent to use blackface. The first notable instance of this occurred when Roddy Piper, who wore half blackface for his feud with Bad News Brown. Fast forward to the Attitude Era, blackface would be incorporated into a segment once again when X-Pac impersonated Mark Henry. And it's insane that WWE believed that this was a smart idea. Now it's worth noting that during an interview with Uproxx, X-Pac did admit how much he regretted doing it for the segment, which was more of an apology than WWE as an organization have ever offered over the years. It would also be used for Goldust during a match with Flash Funk.
He
Goldust
real
was going
black,
through
too.
an identity crisis, so they made the decision to paint his face to supposedly represent the inner conflict. Number 2, the WrestleMania 20 main event. And WrestleMania 20 was to be the biggest event
What
ever.
happened?
However, due to Chris Benoit's actions in 2007, the show is rarely mentioned. The main event of the show featured Benoit winning the world title in a triple threat match, and then the show went off the air with Benoit celebrating with his family. WWE have tried to revise history when it comes to WrestleMania 20, and when the show is discussed in documentaries or publications of any kind, the Kane vs Taker and John Cena vs Big Show matches are usually the only two matches that are ever mentioned. On the network, the Benoit match is still featured, but his celebration with his family has been completely removed.
I'm glad.
Instead, the show simply ends with Benoit celebrating with Eddie Guerrero before posing on the turnbuckle as the show fades out. And number 1, the Chris Benoit Tribute Show. Now, speaking of Benoit, when WWE found out that Benoit and his family had passed, they dedicated an episode of Raw to Benoit's memory. Raw was turned into a tribute show, and it featured McMahon as well as top WWE talent paying tribute to Chris Benoit. The truth, though, would soon surface in relation to what Benoit had actually done, and WWE were then forced to distance themselves completely. They just dedicated a tribute show to a man who committed the most unforgivable act, and they were quick to erase the show from the history books.
I bet.
In countries where Raw aired on delay, a new show was sent to them which featured WWE highlights from the past calendar year. In relation to the WWE Network, the show has been replaced by a Best of WWE compilation. There's obviously no mention of Benoit on the show in any capacity. So there you have it, folks.
Anything mentioning Chris Benoit at this point is just not it. If they really want, they know that they have to protect themselves, distance, get as far away from that as they can. Now, going back to the different time, different thing, the use of blackface and the N-word, the blackface thing, I don't know. It's a joke. For them, it was a joke. They were supposed to be Mark Henry. He had the wig with the hair on it, and then he had the blackface. They were trying to do something, right? I don't know. How do you feel about that one? As far as Vince using the M-word, I think because they're saying different time, different place, I don't think that other wrestlers used it, African-American wrestlers, so it's kind of weird. It's like, wait. Yeah, that segment was just weird, because I remember even John Cena, he looked uncomfortable in that. He looked like, what? Like, why is this a part? Why is this a thing? Maybe I have never seen the entire, I've only seen the clip. Maybe I've never seen the entire thing. So I need to see the entire thing so I can understand exactly why that happened and what they were thinking exactly. I don't know. Guys, I want your thoughts on this in the comments. We need to talk about this. We need to have a little discussion. Which one of these moments aged the worst? I'm going with the Jared Subway thing. For sure. That one's out of here. That one's too much. We'll talk about it in the comments. I'll see you next time right here, Justin DTV, man.